Hey everybody, it's William Green. These are my green pets, hosted and housed by the loving orchid growers at Fantasy Orchids in Louisville, Colorado. And this is an orchid, this is a Zygopetal mackay that is really just right next to my own collection. And it smells so nice, I get to pass it on the way over to my collection every day. And here's my little section of the greenhouse. These are my green pets. And Paphiopedilum Michael Koopowitz is in bloom. It's got two flowers open. It's got two more on the way. The petals are nice and long. And I actually took this plant to AOS judging last night, and it was interesting because there were a couple things that the judges said that the plant would need it in order to be awarded. So the first thing was the petals weren't really as long as a lot of flowers like this that had been awarded in the past. Also, the presentation wasn't perfect. The flowers had some form issues. They weren't really symmetrical. And there weren't very many flowers. There was only 4. And they were saying that 5 flowers is kind of the minimum to be awarded these days. So, good information. This is my Schilleriana. And Schilleriana is putting out a spike. And I decided I was going to stake the spike this year. So I think I'll leave it that way and let the inflorescence kind of arch down from that point. We're going to see what it's going to look like. No idea how that's going to work. Right next to Schilleriana is my Bulbophyllum echinolabium. This is Hal, is his clonal name. And he's got a flower that's kind of getting ready to orient itself into the blooming position. And I'm not sure how many more flowers will be on this spike, but it does have a new growth coming out, so that is good news. You can see it down there at the bottom. And then finally, kind of in the background, is this slow but sure spike pushing out of Prime Child. Last time this guy bloomed was August of 2016, I think. So it's been a while. Looking forward to seeing these big flowers again. Alright, well that's kind of it for my collection this week, but let's have a look around Fantasy Orchids and see what other goodies we can find. Here's Angraecum memoria Mark Aldridge sitting in the boarding area of the greenhouse, and look at the buds on this thing swelling up. I've been watching it for like 2.5 months, and the buds are finally really swelling up and looking like, wow, it's really going to happen. They're going to bloom soon. The spurs in particular are really interesting to see how they're kind of stretching out, and I can't wait to see how big the flowers end up being. Here's a wonderful specimen of Lilia, and I asked what the species was, but I did not remember. So anyway, it's still very, very nice and much to be appreciated. Just love the kind of the wild look of these species. You know, the lips aren't big and pronounced. One thing I love about Fantasy Orchids is that they have a smell me area where there's always some kind of fragrant orchid there, and there's a little smell me sign. But these are Oncidium twinkles, and then another species as well, very nicely fragrant, but also small and compact. This is a Phragmopedium bessae hybrid, which is really interesting. Actually, they have several Phragmopediums available right now, and a lot of them are in bloom. And I know somebody walked away with quite a few of them on Saturday, but there's still several left, and they really are nice. They also have a lovely selection of Oncidium hybrids at Fantasy Orchids, and a lot of them are fragrant as well, so it's worth stopping by and sticking your nose in there and seeing what you can find. I love the pink and the brown splotching on these, and yeah, super nice. Look at the rose edge on this one, also super nice. Here's a lovely Dendrobium hybrid that is actually backlit, so you can see the color quite well, but when it's front lit, the flowers are almost black. And here's some of those Phragmopediums that I was mentioning. You don't see these too often for sale in bloom at a nursery, so it really is kind of special to have those there. And you can see that that whole section has got several Phragmopediums in it, but these two are the only two that left that are in bloom. But it really reminds me of my Grande that bloomed earlier this year. The face of the flower, you know, has eyelashes and, you know, a big nose or a big mouth, however you're going to look at it. Those are nice. And I stopped by, I saw this little guy. This is a Path villosum, and this thing makes me kind of like clench my fists, because this is a really, really tempting plant for me. I would love to, I love these shiny Paths. I'm pretty crazy about them. Of course, they have a sea of beautiful Phalaenopsis available as well at the Fantasy. Let's see, what this is a little Dendrobium, and it's called Tiny Bubbles, which is, I mean, honestly, if you want to sell your plant, name it Tiny Bubbles, right? But it's got cute little flowers, and they've got several in bloom right now and in spike. Alright guys, well thank you so much for stopping by to check on my green pets and to tour around Fantasy Orchids and see what kinds of beautiful flowers are in bloom down here. I'll be back next weekend with another update, so until then, have a great week and I'll see you later. Bye!